Hello and welcome back, everyone. It's just another day in the life as a military wife, and because the world got a little interesting in July, I switched around a couple episodes, and this topic that we are covering today, which is homeschooling resources, was initially supposed to be in July for reasons I assume you can guess, mostly so that it would be out well before school started so that people could use it for inspiration or a jumping off point. However, that did not happen, so we are going to tackle it today. As always, I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you're listening to Life of a Military Wife. So, over 3 million kids in the United States are homeschooled, and this trend has increased pretty steadily since 1999. And that's all the way back to when I searched. There's probably resources and numbers from before that, but from when I looked at the numbers to 1999 till now, it's been pretty much steadily increasing. There's been a few dips here and there, but it's a pretty consistent thing. And part of the reason why I think homeschooling has such an appeal is that you can customize how you approach education best suited to your family's particular needs, learning styles, and whatnot. Also, it tends to be a not uncommon choice in the military because it allows for a lot of flexibility and a way to incorporate where you're currently living and give your kids opportunities and experiences they may not get in traditional brick and mortar educational systems. And I last year went very in depth about my strong belief in the right to be able to select the best educational setup for your child based on what they need. And I don't believe that education is a one size fits all. I come from these beliefs largely from the fact that I was raised by an educator. My mother was a public school teacher and then a charter school teacher, just basically a teacher, for the majority of my growing up years. And as a result, I had the opportunity to attend public school, attend a charter school. I did concurrent enrollment or dual enrollment with community college while I was in high school. And I learned a lot from my mother as an educator, and I learned a lot from her ability to look at education with a flexible mindset and realize that there's a lot to it and that not every kid needs the same thing. And one curriculum, it's not a one size fits all. In fact, one of the worst educational experiences I had, and I did learn things in that class, but oh my goodness, I did not love it, was my college statistics class because oh, I love statisticians. We need statisticians. Good statisticians do a great service for society. But when they try to put together an educational system, a program, class, and they make it fair so that the outcomes are fair and even and equal, Hoo-wee. Yeah, it was tough. Basically, every teacher had to read a script, the exact same script, so that every single class, all day, every day, regardless of the teacher, was being taught the exact same thing so that one class couldn't get potentially higher grades because they had a teacher who was able to explain the material better than another class, which meant that everyone had a uniformly horrible experience. So that has been a foundational experience that just taught me the importance of customization of education and that one explanation may work to help teach a principle or subject matter to one child, but might not be effective at all for another. And that's where homeschooling can come in to play. And even if you don't use any of these homeschool programs, knowing some of these resources are out there to supplement your kids' educational experiences or even to use yourself is not a bad idea. Some of these actually are things that the school we send our children to use, and that's part of why we chose that charter school, because we were looking for these types of curriculum. So that said, let's dig into it all. So I threw out the question to a bunch of my listeners and in just different groups I'm a part of, asking people, particularly homeschoolers who've had some, time in the doing this, and what their favorite curriculums were and why. And there was some significant overlap, and there were some that I'd never heard before, some I had heard of, some I'd never considered that way. And I'm going to just start with one that I had discussed last year was with ChatGPT AI. Um, that would One person said that she uses that to help come up with lesson plans and worksheets and stuff like that, which I actually tried out. That was the first thing I thought of to try when my husband's like, "Here, try this new ChatGPT AI thing." And I'm like, "Okay, let's see if it can make up homeschool curriculum." And it actually didn't do a half bad job. So she said that she uses it and then gives it prompts on different types of homeschooling styles to pull from. And that's what she does. Um, Other people talked about different mindsets or philosophies, and that's a whole nother bag of worms, I guess. The Well Educated Hearts came up several times. Well Educated Heart is a book by Marley Peterson, and it's also an academy, and we'll get into that in a second. But Well Educated Hearts is a philosophy. Thomas Jefferson Education is a homeschooling philosophy. Charlotte Manson is a homeschooling philosophy. Classical Conversations is another homeschooling philosophy. So there that that's just the philosophies towards education. There's a lot of those out there, and figuring out your homeschooling philosophy, what you're looking for in homeschooling, is going to be a big step in getting started if this is something you're looking for. Because once you know what you're looking for, then you can really look more for curriculums that meet those specific needs. And Classical Conversations is what the charter school my kids go to uses, and or school my children attends, the philosophy that they use and principles they use is Classical Conversations. Charlotte Manson goes over, they have a little assessment. It's the 5 flavors of homeschooling, and they actually have a little an assessment you can take to kind of figure out where you fall in. And that might be a helpful thing for you if you're getting started. Um, and then if you want, maybe check out the book Well Educated Hearts. Maybe that's the direction you're going to be going in. So those are just some things to keep in mind as you're getting started. Then you can start looking into actual curriculum yourself. Now, there are some that are they're all subjects, and there's some that are just like math or civics or science, those sorts of things. And so, if from what I gathered, it was mostly a math curriculum, I'm going to cover those ones first. So, Saxon Math is one that my kids' school is using. Um, and that one is specifically a math education. The Khan Academy is for math as well. Um, so those are two that are specifically math, and then Singapore Math was another one that was mentioned. I have the most experience with Saxon Math and the Khan Academy. My husband, I think, he referenced the Khan Academy for some of his classes. Saxon Math is one that my mother was a huge fan of, and so I feel a connection towards that one. Um, then there are other ones that just focus more on like sciences and Barina Builders. I hope I said that right. Barina Builders. They have a lot of science, but that science can be synced up with history curriculums, which I thought was really cool. I love that idea of tying your math, your science, your history, your literature all together so that the kids can get a whole view on how everything kind of just builds on each other. All education really kind of ties in to each other and makes one whole picture of the world. So that's for me, I love units like that that can pull into everything. Um, but yeah, so that was a science one that I was told about. A lot of these other ones that I looked into were comprehensive curriculum, as in they covered more of everything. So they had math, science, history, literature, the whole shebang. Good and the Beautiful was referenced by multiple people. I know that one because I know multiple people who've used that personally. The Good and the Beautiful has really great aspects. It tends to be, from what I've heard, better for elementary age than for older age groups. And that was one thing I was noticing is some of these will cater to K through 12. Some will only cater to elementary or younger age ranges. And so it just knowing which curriculums will correlate to which stages of education. So Charlotte Mason was all of them. Memoria Press was another one that was pointed out to me. In regards to Memoria Press, it's a Christian based curriculum and it goes from K to 12 and it covers all the subjects and it focuses on a classical education. So that might be what you're looking for your family. It covers classical history, literature, Latin. Memoria Press also encourages cursive and teaching cursive, which I feel very strongly about and feel that it is a important skill for kids to learn, not only for their motor skills, but it also helps with their ability to learn to read and write well. So Memoria Press goes into a lot of those different things. Then when you get into the homeschooling styles that I was talking about, Charlotte Mason has a wonderful little test you can take to figure out where you're at with those sorts of things. So another one that you might want to check out is American Christian Education, or ACE. They actually have a diagnostic tests that they have diagnostic tests that your kids can take to kind of figure out what level they're at and everything before you get started. So that can be helpful if you are getting started on things. So they have like pretty much everything in them. Those different ones, Good and the Beautiful, Memoria Press, Simply Charlotte Mason, ACE, they cover all the subjects for the most part. Then we get into ones that are a little bit more specific to like civics and history. So Guest Hollow is one that covers more civics, history, that sort of stuff. That one was recommended to me by a good friend and by a few other people. And it looked interesting. It looked also for younger grades, but if you're getting into the more high school, middle school, and you're trying to figure those out, someone mentioned Hillsdale College, which I thought was really interesting because I'm taking courses through Hillsdale College, and they're free courses. And they do cover history and all that sort of stuff, civics, and lots of different things. And they're free classes and they're online. I had never considered using that as a homeschool supplement, which is actually a brilliant idea. And then one of the others that was brought up was for Spanish. And I have not looked into this one particularly. I am a Spanish speaker and I have tutored in Spanish for kids with public school or kids who are homeschoolers. But Beautiful Mundo was one that was suggested. I like going back to the stuff that I used, curriculum wise, but the Tull program that I used is not readily accessible anymore. It's out of print. So Yeah, it's something I use that I have access to, but the average person isn't going to get. So Beautiful Mundo might be one to look into. So there's just a lot out there. But then it gets into when you have older kids. Well Educated Hearts Academy covers middle school and high school age classes, and um, Khan Academy can cover those higher grade levels as well. And then Hillsdale College is a good one for high schoolers and middle schoolers. And then in addition, there's also dual enrollment. Some people had mentioned BYU has programs for homeschooling and the high school level. I've heard mixed reviews from that. I know some families who've loved it. I know other families who haven't loved it. I went to Brigham Young University, graduated from BYU. I love the school. I did take an online course from them and I wasn't very impressed, but that was, over a dozen years ago. So it may have improved. I don't really know on that one. But dual enrollment is something that you can do. And that's something I did in high school that was really beneficial. I was able to knock out a lot of academic requirements ahead of time, and that helped me get a better feel for what college was going to be like, as well as just making my freshman year a little bit easier. So, my hope is that these resources will help send you in the right direction of what you're needing for your family at this point in time in regards to educational resources. And maybe it's just getting back into your own educational journey like I have and taking some free classes through Hillsdale College, which I have genuinely enjoyed and am looking forward to having more time to do. Then maybe it's supplementing what your kids are doing and or doing dual enrollment or whatever it is. I hope that this is able to help you think about education in a new way and realize that it doesn't have to be a one size fit all and that everyone has their own educational journey and needs, and that it will excite them when you find the right fit for them as an individual. So every kid, every family is unique, and explore because there's a lot of great resources out there. There are a lot of really wonderful resources out there to utilize. That said, I am still loving to hear the feedback from all of you guys. I enjoy it when you let me know about topics, or I like hearing about what you're working on with your projects. And if you are interested in a collaboration, if there is something you would like for me to cover in an episode, a question you have, please feel free to shoot it my way. I do listen to this feedback and I do try to utilize what I can. And sometimes things change and I can't get to everything, but I'm doing my best. And I love to hear from you guys. Contact information will be in the episode description below, as always. And please, let's be the good that we want to see in the world. With all that said, I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you are listening to Life of a Military Wife.